Hey everybody, Thomas Joseph here, and I have a kitchen conundrum that I am sure you have encountered before, and that is a tough, flavorless meatball. Well, today I'm going to show you some tricks and tips in making a very tender, delicious meatball. I have 4 slices of white bread, crust removed, and I've been tearing this into small pieces. Pour half a cup of whole milk over the bread. Save a little bit of the milk because I have a trick for it later. So let this sit and soften for about 5 minutes. I have 2 whole eggs here. Whisk those together in a small bowl. And now for some flavoring. I have lemon zest. It adds a really great bright flavor. Whisk it together. I have some garlic, some minced garlic. That goes in as well. Salt and pepper is very important. So I have 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, chopped parsley for really great flavor. And now I'm going to add that milk that I have left over. Whisk together, and what this does is it helps to evenly disperse all of the flavorings amongst the meat and the cheese and the bread. So it helps you in getting maximum flavor without overworking all of your meat. So put this off to the side, take a fork and flake the bread up, breaking it into smaller pieces. The bread and the eggs, those are 2 ingredients that help bind the meatball together. They also make the meatball light and tender. So I have a pound of ground chuck and a pound of ground pork. Make sure that you're not using meat that's too lean. The leaner the meat you use, the more likely your meatball is going to turn out to be tough. So I have 1 onion that is finely minced, 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese, and the egg mixture. And now with my hands, mix the ingredients thoroughly, but don't overmix. Overmixing will create a very tough meatball. One other tip, keep your hands cold. The hotter your hands, what happens is it melts the fat in the meat, and that also can give you a tough meatball. My father would always run his hands under cold water whenever he made meatloaf or meatballs, so you can use that trick, or maybe a little bit of ice water. So now this goes into the refrigerator to chill and rest for about an hour. So I'm using one of my favorite tools, and that is an ice cream scoop here to portion out. And then to shape into a ball, what I like to do is throw it between my 2 hands. It knocks out any air pockets, and it also shapes it into a nice round ball. So there you go. 1 perfect meatball. Now repeat the process with all of this, working quickly. You don't want this to heat up too much. So all of the meatballs are formed, and now it's time for cooking. I have a large saute pan over medium-high heat, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. I'm doing this on the stovetop today, but you can certainly do this in the oven at a high temperature to brown the meatballs up, getting that wonderful brown crust. Don't overcrowd the pan. If you overcrowd, you're gonna create steam and they won't brown nicely. About 1 to 2 minutes on each side until you have a nice crust, and then we're ready for our next step. So for the second part of the cooking process, take your seared meatballs and cook them at a lower temperature. I'm doing it in sauce today, but you could certainly reduce the temperature of your oven and it will give you the same outcome. So the meatballs have been simmering, they're perfectly cooked through, and the true test here, perfectly tender, really flavorful. So there you go. You have the foolproof method now for making meatballs at home. Adapt this technique to your favorite recipe and enjoy.